Okay, so let's start with JavaScript objects. So first of all, JavaScript में objects होते क्या हैं? So what are objects? So in JS, everything in JavaScript is a primitive data type or a object. So basically, we have two type of data in JavaScript. So any data type is either a primitive data type or an object. So basically, all reference data elements are objects. So array is an object, object is an object, and function is also an object. So this is the definition of an object. So object होता क्या है? So any element having property and value. So any entity having property and value is an object. Like in JavaScript, strings also behave like an object, and arrays and functions are also objects. So how function is object? Like this is a function, and the length of this function is 0. Now the length is 1 and now the length is 2. So length is a property of function. So function is having a property length. So length is a property, and function can have some methods like call, bind. Okay. So these are primitive data type and this is reference. So all reference elements are JavaScript object. So in JS, all reference elements are JavaScript object. But again, there we have three type of objects: array type, object type, and function type. So basically, they are built in object in JavaScript. So arrays are also object, objects are also object, and functions are also object, but they are built-in objects. So built-in means they are already defined in a JavaScript library, vanilla JavaScript. Okay. So how to declare an object in JavaScript? So to declare an object in JavaScript, we have two ways. Like for a user, we can use the constructor way, which is new space. So it's a new instance of object, or we'll prefer a literal way, which is the recommended way. So literal way कैसे आएगा? Where user is equal to curly braces. So this is same. Both are same. So this is first is constructor way and second is literal way. So we mostly prefer literal way in JavaScript. So objects are basically a collection of multiple data types. Like in array, we use data of any data type, gen, fab, mark. So array is a collection of data. Object is also a collection of data, but with key values. So in arrays, we have index. In objects, we have keys. Okay. So in objects, we have keys, and in arrays, we have index to use a particular element. So let's say for this array, so for this user, we have a property name, which is ABC, and second property ID, which is a number, and third is a boolean. Okay, so these are three keys. Name, ID is alive. So these are three keys, three properties of user object. And for the month, we have index 0, 1, and 2. So this is an object in JavaScript. So user is an object. So now type user. So user is an object. Now user.name means ABC, user.id is 21, and user is alive is a boolean, which is true. So these are properties. So console.log, type user, and we'll see user. But if we print this in a paragraph, see document dot query selector p dot inner HTML equal to, so then we can see object. So this means it is an object of type object. So एक object है जिसका type भी object. So it's an object of type object in JavaScript. So that's why we can, but here if we print array, we can see the data, right? So for array, we can see the data, but for object, we can't see. So we have to use something else. So directly we can't print our object. So objects are reference data type elements. ठीक है, so objects हैं reference elements but with key value pair. So how to declare an object? We have first option which is literal and the second one which is constructor object. So using constructor new keyword and instance of object we can also create an object. So for arrays we'll have indexing and for objects we have key value pairs. So like in PHP we have associative arrays. But in JavaScript, there is no associative array, so that's why we call them objects. So now, how to check the data type of an object? So to check the data type of an object, let's start. So first, we'll start with type of operator. So type of user is object, but type of month is also an object. So type of for user and month both is an object, and type of null is also an object. So we can't use type of to check data type of reference elements. For reference data type, we have to use, like for array, we use array dot is array. So this is for array. For object, we have to use instance of. So how? User space instance of object. So is user an instance of object? So this is saying true. So basically user is an instance of object. So user space instance of object is true. So user is an instance of JavaScript object. So built-in object, but there's one issue that user is the instance of object, but our month is also instance of object. So user भी object है and month भी object है, because I told you all reference data type elements are object in JavaScript, but this is an array type object and this is an object type object. So month is also an object, user is also an object. So month instance of object is true. Why? Because month is also an instance of object. Month भी एक object ही होता है. But so this is true, but this should be false. But by default it is true. Why? Because month is also an object element. Now let's just check the same thing for instance of array. Month instance of array is what? True, but user instance of array will be false because user is not an object array. But so that means if instance of any element is true, so that means it can be an array object or object. But check one more thing. For null, instance of object is false. So null is not an object. So null is a primitive data type. So it's not an object. So it is not an object. So for null, we will see false. So now if instance of any object, any element is object, so that means it can be an array object or object object. So, and also it can be a function object. How? Check. So alert is a function. So alert instance of object is also true. So that means if instance of any element is object, so if instance of any element is an object, so that means it is an object, array or function. So that can be any reference element. So any reference element for any reference data type, the instance of object is always true. So to check, now it's an array type object, we have array dot is array. To type function, to check function we have type of, but to check it's an object we have to use this condition. So condition is if user instance of object should be true. But so this means this can be an object or this can be an array object or this can be a function. So if user instead of object is true, so that means it can be an object, array and a function. Now use AND operator, and if array dot is array, user is false. So this means this is not an array. So instance of object should be true, but array dot is array should be false. So that means it is an object or function. and use one more and type of user not equal to function. So that means it's only an object, it's not a function now. So if this condition is matching, so that means it is a JavaScript object. So to check object, we have to use instance of object should be true, array should be false, and type of function should be type of should not be a function. So if these conditions are matching, so that means this is an JavaScript object. Check console.log. Yes. Now all of this is user. So we can see yes. Now change this. This is the user converted to an array. So we can't see yes. So this is not an object. And if it's alert is a function. So see, this is again not matching. So see, again condition is not matching. So, but if it's blank, now this is yes. So that means this is an object. So this is the actual condition if any particular element is an object or not in JavaScript. Okay. So we have bracket or new objects. New means a constructor form, bracket curly braces means object later. And to check data type, we use instance of, but instances of mainly for reference data type. So instance of both array, object, and function is an object. For arrays, we use array.isArray, and for function, we use Typeof Operator. So any reference element whose instance of object is true, but array.isArray is false, and typeof is not an array is an JavaScript object element. Okay. Now there's one thing in JavaScript. This is an empty object. This is an empty object, but see, this is not equal to this, and triple equal to is also false. So why this is an empty object, this is again an empty object, so there is no key value pair, but still they are not equal. So the reason is this means a new instance of object, and this means another new instance of object. So now it's a new instance, so that's why they are not equal. But if where t is an object and these, one second, t double equal to object, c, again it's a false because this is again a new instance of object, but t double equal to t is true, or use t is an object t is an object, u is equal to t. See, now t double equal to u, now they are true. So they are true. Why? Because we are assigning t into u. So it's not a new instance. It's the same instance. So we are assigning them. So JavaScript is use prototype inheritance model. So when we assign a variable, like we have a variable user into t, so all the properties of user t will inherit all the properties of user. So see, t is double equal to user now, but an empty object is never equal to another empty object. So both are always different in JavaScript. Now, how to traversal value of an object? So to traversal value of an object, it's very easy. So let's say we want to write something in this p element. So let's say name is plus what? User, but user is an object, so we won't see the name, we will see an object of type object. So we have to use user dot name. So user dot name is ABC. Okay. So user dot. So we have to use two. Either we have to use dot to. So we have two options to write. So there we have dot to call a property or bracket. So we have two type of notations in JavaScript. So we can use user dot name, or we can also use second notation bracket user bracket name. Still we can say this. So where we need this one, suppose this is f name, so now this is an issue error, so the key is invalid. See, hyphen is not allowed, so there we have to use quotes. Okay, now to type f name, so we can user dot f hyphen name is not allowed, so this means user dot f is a property and minus means subtraction, so this is not allowed. So now user dot f minus name is different, so we have to use user bracket f name. Now we will say this value, so when hyphen is there, then we have to use bracket. So then the only option is use bracket notation, we can't use dot. So there f minus name means user dot f is an user is an object, f is a property, and minus subtracting, we are subtracting name. So this is invalid and the output is nan, which is not a number. For id we can use dot id, or also we can use this. Okay, so name is abc plus, and id is what, plus user dot id. For id we can use dot. Okay, and is alive is what, user dot is alive. So is alive is true. Now change the value, so we can see is alive is false. Okay, make it true. So this is how we can traversal value of an JavaScript object. Okay, so this is how we can traverse. So we have dot notation and we have bracket notation. How to check in property? So this is full name is the property, dot profile, location, pin code, they all are. So these are 5 properties. So we use in operator to check property in this. Like age in user is false, but ID in user is true. So that means ID is there, but age is not there. To check in property, we use in operator like age in user. So this is false, but if we write ID in user, so this is true. So that means ID is available, but there are some built-in properties like toString. So location in user is true, toString is also true. How? See, toString method in user, so this is also true. So but see, we haven't defined any property. So for user we have 3 properties, fname, id and li, but these are built-in properties, oh sorry, custom properties. We have created these properties. There are also some more properties like id is alive, constructor has one property is part of, there we can see toString. So toString is a method, so it is a property of object, but we haven't created. So this is built-in property. So for that we have a has one property. So has one property will check user dot has, one second, has one property id. So this is true. So the has one property of id is true, but for toString is false. So this means this is false. So this is not a property toString of this. So this is true. toString is false. So it's not a property. Okay, so for that we have has on property. So has on means its own property or custom default property. So like user dot has on property pin code true, profile true, but toString is false. So toString is a default properties of all JavaScript objects. So any instance of object will have toString property, all the instance of object. So how to add and remove? To add and property externally we use, like we have 4 properties. Externally we are using user.country in India. So now we'll have 5 properties. See, user.city is equal to Delhi. So now we'll have one more property. So user is having a new property city, and so this is how we can add a property. To remove, use delete operator, delete user.id. So now user is there, but we can't see the ID. So ID is removed. To overwrite, like to change the value of ID, use user.id equal to new ID, let's say 23. So now the value of ID is manipulated, changed. Okay, so it's 23 now. This is how we can add, remove, and change value of a JavaScript object. To get all properties, we use for in loop. To get all the properties, use for in loop. For where I in object. So name of object is user. Now console.log check the value of I. So what is I? I is the key. So we'll get all the keys one by one. So this is the key, and comma user of I will be the value. So say this is the key, this is the value, key, value, key, and value. So these are key and value of our JavaScript object. Okay. Now let's print this data into a paragraph. So for that, let's say we have an OL ordered list. So document dot query selector OL dot inner HTML use plus equal to append. So now we'll see we got 3 LIs 1 2 3 because they are 3 key values 1 2 3. Now add one more user.city. Now we'll see 4. Now these are 4. Use I. So what is I? The key, and the value is another plus hyphen separator user bracket of I. So see, F name is ABC, ID is this, is alive is true, and city is Delhi. We got 4 key value pair in this. Okay, so this is how we can use a for in loop to get all the properties. Now see, this is a string, this is a number, this is an object. So there we can also use a function. So यहाँ पे we can also use a function or an object or an array, any reference element. So let's, so dot user dot id is what? User dot id is a property. Now we can also create method like this is id, this is f name. So let's say we have a property age which is 24, and we have a method get year. For get year, the value is a function. So this will return what? So get here is a method which is a function. So method are also always a function. So this will return what? So this. So this keyword will refer the current object, and there the current object is a user. So this means user. So instead of typing user.age, we have to prefer this dot age. So we can use this code n number of times. So this dot age is what? 24. Subtract this from 2020. Let's say this is a static year. So 2020, just subtract this dot age. So now user, so there we can see a function. So user dot age is a property, user dot get year is a method, which is a function. So we have to call get year to get the value. So this now we'll get 1996. So but there, this is a function. So first we have to check if this is a method, then only we have to call. So how to check a method? It's a function, use Typeof operator. Because if you call user.I, you will see a syntax error. See, is not a function. So what you have to do, use an if operator. If type of users I double equal to function in string, else this. So this is else. So this is else block. See now, we can see only 5 because if condition is matching once and else 5 times. Now this is a function. So whenever this is a function, call this and see we get 1996. So age is 24. So get here will be 1996. Now change the age. So let's say it's 25. So now we have changed the age. So get here will be converted to 1995. So this is the advantage of using this keyword. So if you again use user.age, you will get the same output 1995, but you cannot create multiple instance of user. So let's say for another user, user2, name is different, age is different. So again, you have to type there user2. So that's why I prefer this. Okay, so that's why we prefer this. So now for user2, this means user2 and there this means user. So check user2 dot get here is 1993 and user dot get here is 1995. So that's why we always prefer this keyword. So this is our JavaScript object. Okay, so we have created 6 key value pairs. So we can also have array of object and object of array. So like there we can also create an array. This can be an array or we can create an object inside. Let's start another example where we are going to create an array of object. Okay, so for that, let's create a big array of students. So this is an array. Now for all the students we have name, we have IDs and let's say age. So students name caller ABC comma ID 21 and third let's say age colon 23. So this is first, second, this is third. So 21, 22, 23, age 23, 24, 21. So students is an array of objects. So what is students? Student is an array. Now array is having 3 elements and it's an array of object. To bind this data, we have to use 2 loops. So nested loop we have to use, and let's create a table. For first should be name, second is ID, and third is age. Okay. Table comma td comma th with border 1 pixel solid. So this is my keys. Now let's create the loop. So first loop will be to create rows for where I in students. So for in loop is for both. So there we'll have 3 rows. So this loop will run 3 times and the value of I is 0, 1, 2. So document dot create element tr and store this in a variable tr. Okay, then document dot query selector table dot append child tr. So we can see three trs, but tr is empty. So tr dot inner HTML equal to a td. So we can see one td. Okay, but we have three tds. So ignore this. Add another nested loop where j in students I index. Now again this loop will work three times. We have three key value pairs. Let's add one more. Name, id, age, branch. So let's say this is arrow, this is Mac, and this is CS. So this is branch. Now this loop will work four times. So four times what to do? Tr dot inner HTML plus equal to td. So we've got four tds. See, four tds. But if it's three, we got three tds. For all tds, print students I, which is an array, sorry, object, then j. See, we got the data abc, id, age, and branch, pqr, id, age, and branch, and name xyz, id, age, and branch. So we got all the output in a tabular format for a structured data. So this is our JavaScript array of object. So there we have an array, we have object. Now let's add some more data. JKL, ID 22, this is 23, this is 24, age is let's say 20, and branch is civil. So now we can see some more data. So this is ABC, this is JKL, this is PQR. So we got all the elements in a proper sequence. So this is our JavaScript object, how to create an object, how to identify object, to check data type using instance of, and instances is mainly for object, all reference objects, so all reference data types. So that's why we use array.isArray and typeof. Then how to bind data, how to use foreign loop, and finally an array of object. Okay, and for that we have created a nested loop. So this is about JavaScript built-in objects or custom how to create custom objects in JavaScript.